This is my entry to the Hacknode Hacknode contest that is hosted by Challenge Post, and I am enrolling myself into the visionary track. So my app is named IoT Connected Hacknode app. So if we take a look in here, the first page of the app asks you for username and password, and it is the Hacknode entry point. So you need to put in your key in your password, username, password, and log in. Or if you don't remember the password, you need to log into the forgot password link. Now what happens is that when you just get into this Hacknode page, it will take you to the Hacknode database. Now the second page is the main page where you have the wireframes for all of the connected app status. So it would consist of IoT connected node database. It would be much of like if we say the Swiss knife. What does the Swiss knife do? It has got all the mechanisms to work around and play with it. And the second, this would be similar to the IoT connected node database. The second would be carbon footprint calculator, where you would be measuring the greenhouse gases, that is CO2 and nitrogen dioxide emission from the household and the transport. Third would be endangered species, that is the species that are very much important but they are very few in numbers. So we would be checking on that. Then comes the case of node accelerometer, and last but not the least, totally revolutionary sensor based game. So let us take it forward to the next wireframe. So in this wireframe you get connected to the IoT connected node database. So it would consist of the accelerometer reading, the thermocouple reading, and the thermometer. What does it do? So there might be lot of node devices across all over the world. It would act as the same database would be acting as the Runtastic database, or what we see is when we do jogging, the Runtastic app stores that data in a certain database. So with this, what we are doing is connecting all the node devices that are around all over the world into a single platform where all of the data are stored in a database. And it is kept. Why it is kept? Because we can study the data and the accuracy of the node devices, and if there is any dependency or any changes with weather conditions, so that we can come up with a better product next time. Here comes the accelerometer reading, where we have the X, Y and Z axis. When we click on calibrate node reading, it would change the values as per the node changes, as per the we move the node, and we can save the data to the node database. Now here is the case where we can have the thermocouple reading with the thermocouple sensor. We can calibrate the reading and then save it to the node database. Now here comes the situation where we have to find the carbon footprint calculator. Why I am pressing for carbon footprint calculator is that we know about the ozone layer depletion. So it has been a big issue for us to make the earth safer place to live in. So here comes a scenario, we can implement a carbon footprint calculator. So it would be a daily recording what we can do, or accordingly we can charter along how much greener we are. So we can use the node sensor for home as well as transport purpose. What does the compare do? Compare hooks into the World Bank data API for the carbon emission, and it checks that if we are into the allowable situations or not. So there are two options, one for home and another is for transport. So here comes the situation where we have for home and household CO2 and nitrogen oxide emission. We can compare, save and check how greener we are. According to the API that would be integrating, we can check how greener we are and reduce the emission accordingly. Now here is the situation. We can have the carbon footprint of our car as we do daily traveling. We can check that how much emission is the car coming up to. We can compare, save and then check how greener we are. Here is the most important part, which we call as endangered species. We can have three options over here: one for the home habitat, one for the forest and one for the on tour. So what it does is that it hooks into a database, that is AR archive database, which we are using the endangered species API to check in for this habitat. So what it does is that when you go to the home habitat, we click on, say we go across our garden and we see a certain species of life form that is very uncommon to us. So when we put in the node sensor and calibrate it and say we measure the temperature of that particular animal or say the living being, what it does, that when we measure the temperature, it asks us to switch on the camera. Camera takes a snapshot of that particular animal or species and updates or checks into the AR archive database if it is an unknown species or not. If it is an unknown species, it updates the data into the AR archive database. What it does is that it helps us studying uncommon or endangered species of life forms. Now here comes the situation, that is a node accelerometer option, where we can go through a weather situation or weather reading or stability of the smartphone. So what it does is that when we are hooking into the weather situation, we start calibrating the node sensor. How it works: say we keep the node sensor very close to the device or the phone that we are carrying, and we are getting into the travel with a car. Say we are in the freaky UK weather where rain is always playing cats and mice game with us. So when we are taking this sensor with us, say the accelerometer and the clima sensor measures the particular situation around and sends an alert to the phone, and the phone in effect will check the weather API and in turn will check the weather status of the area, and it will alert us that if there is any extreme weather condition approaching or not. So if there are thunderstorms, it will say yes, and it would ask us to stop and not drive. Now here comes a situation where we can check for the stability of the smartphone. Stability of the smartphone, that if we keep the smartphone and the sensor, that is the accelerometer sensor of the node base, very close and the surface is very unstable, the accelerometer sensor, the node sensor will show us that this particular surface is unstable and you need to keep the device at a very safer place. Now the situation is for the sensor game. This is the revolutionary technique that we are applying. What it does is that it uses ambient light sensor to play the game, and it requires two phones to play the game. So it is a unique. Why I say unique? There are two basically implemented conditions over here. One is ANDing and one is ORing. So if we say if you are to OR two numbers, so the node ambient light sensor sends a number 2, say. So what it does is that with the number 2, the ambient light sensor blinks 2 times, and the other device that is around, that is the phone, another, say we had to send 1, so it would blink 1 and hence the resultant that would be coming up would be combination of both the numbers and the resultant. So resultant would be also the light blinking. So this would be an unique experience.